Using some example, one example, we'll solve. We'll draw the root locus plot. So this is what we have seen earlier in the last class. Construction of root locus. So root locus is symmetrical about real axis, and root locus originates at open loop poles and open loop. Finally, it ends at open loop zeros. Okay, that we have already seen. Now let us consider one example. So using that example, we construct a root locus plot. So here is that example. A unity feedback control system has an open loop transfer function. G of s is equal to k by s into s square plus 4s plus 10. This is the open loop transfer function given. Sketch the root locus. Okay, later we'll see the design part. So initially, so our aim is to construct a root locus for the given open loop transfer function. Okay. So now the first step, we have to identify the poles and zeros. So identify the poles, and that means the first point, the first step while constructing root locus is the root locus. The root locus always starts at open loop poles and finally ends at open loop zeros. So from the given open loop transfer function itself, so we have to find out the open loop poles. So these are the open loop poles. The poles of open loop transfer function are the roots of the characteristic equation. Okay. So here the denominator polynomial of this open loop system. So here there is no zeros because the numerator is having only constant value k, whereas the denominator polynomial, if we observe, so s is equal to 0, one root. For this s square plus 4s plus 13, if this is nothing but a quadratic equation. So roots for that, it is -2 plus or minus j3. So these are the three poles. First we have to identify the number of poles and zeros. That is very important in this. In this case, number of poles is equals to 3. Number of zeros, so that can be either Z, or in some textbooks that is represented by Z's, and some textbooks it is represented by M. Number of zeros. Okay, in this case, number of zeros, that is zeros can be represented either 0 or this. Poles can be represented with P or N. Okay, in some textbooks that is P, in some textbooks that is N. So in this case, so this is nothing but the denominator polynomial of open loop transfer function. So just by taking the roots, so you will get the number of poles. P1 is equal to 0, P2 is equal to 0, P3 is equal to 0. P3 is equal to -2 plus or minus J3. So this is very, very important. The first step is finding roots, open loop poles and open loop zeros. Just note down this one. Okay. Once we get that open loop poles and zeros, so the next second step. So I think you can easily understand this first step. Simply taking the transfer function and finding the roots for the denominator polynomial. Next, step 2. So to find the root locus on real axis, that means whether the root locus is present on real axis or not, that we have to identify. That is the second step. If we follow these steps, easily we can draw the root locus plot. Okay, so here it is. So this is the root locus. Plot whether it is, once we identify the poles. Poles means at s is equal to 0, we have one pole. At s is equal to -2 plus j3, we have another pole. At s is equal to -2 minus j3, we have one more pole. So there are three poles. One pole is at origin, one pole is, the other two poles are complex poles. Okay, we have represented. Now the root locus always starts at open loop poles. So that means the root locus starts at open loop poles. Three root locus branches starts at this poles. How they start? Whether they start in this direction or in this direction or in this direction. The first step is whether the root locus is present on real axis or not. That we have to identify. So for that, already I have discussed, we have to consider a test point. This is the test point. Okay, assume some test point on a real axis. So this is the test point P1. Calculate the total number of poles and zeros on the right half of this test point. So in this case, only one pole is there. Okay, so this test point, if it is an odd number, then we can say that the test point is on root locus. That means the root locus branch, this is the root locus branch, so it moves in this direction. The root locus starting at this point moves in this direction only because the test point is the total number of poles and zeros on the right half of the test point is an odd number. So that we have to remember. So simply, so we can interpret with phase angle criteria. So later you can understand. So after a certain time, so you will get that point. So any point on the root locus satisfies magnitude criteria, satisfies phase angle. Yeah. So that range, that point is on root locus. Okay, that is the concept of root locus. So based on that, assume a test point on imaginary and on real axis. The total number of poles and zeros on right half of the S-plane, the right half of the test point, if it is an odd number, the test point is on root locus. For example, if we take one more test point at this point, okay, total number of poles and zeros, if they are odd, in this case 3. For example, if we take one more test point here, so it is, so right side there is no poles and zeros, so automatically we can eliminate that one. So root locus always moves in this direction only. Is it clear? So here the points, these are poles P1, P2, P3. We have already denoted in S-plane. S-plane means the real axis and imaginary axis. Okay. So there is only one point on real axis at the origin. Hence, if we choose any test point on the negative real axis, then the right of the point, the total number of real poles and zeros is 1. So here, just now I have said total number of poles and zeros. Here they consider only real poles and zeros. Okay. Meaning for both statements are correct. So meaning for this is only real poles and zeros. The total number of, okay, the negative real axis, then the total number of real poles and zeros, okay, which is an odd number. Here in this textbook, this fellow considered only the real poles and zeros. I have considered the total poles and zeros because the root locus is symmetrical about the real axis. So that means if two poles are present, two complex poles are present on upper half, automatically two conjugate poles present on the lower half of the real axis. So symmetrical about real axis, automatically these two gets cancelled. That's why here they considered the total number of real poles. Even though if we consider the complex poles and zeros, you will get the same one, either an odd value or a even value. So if we add an even number to an odd number, you will get an odd number itself. Okay, because these complex poles and zeros are symmetrical about real axis. That's why I have considered the total number of poles and zeros, which is an odd number. Is it clear? So in this case, if you assume a test point here, so 1, 2, 3, that means this test point is on the root locus. So that means the root locus branch moves in this direction only. Okay. So here the second step, whether to find out the root locus on real axis. Is it clear? Now the next step, to find the asymptotes and centroids. What is an asymptote? So now we have already represented poles, pole 1, pole 2, pole 3, pole 3, the root locus branch. We have already using test point. So the root locus starts at open loop poles, finally ends at open loop zeros. In this case, there is no zeros. Because the numerator is having only one constant value, there is no zeros. So that means those zeros are present at infinity. So one zero at infinity, the other zero at some more infinity position. So third zero is at infinity. Okay, like that we have to assume. Okay, the root locus branch always starts at open loop poles and finally ends at open loop zeros. If there is no open loop zeros in the given transfer function, that means that the open loop zero is at infinity. That means the root locus branch starts at open loop poles and finally ends at open loop zeros. Okay, like that we have to draw the root locus. So for that, okay, this step, to find the angle of asymptotes means finally ends at open loop 0. One zero is present at this infinity. The other pole loop is present at infinity. The other one is at infinity. So how it travels from pole to 0? Okay, along a straight line asymptote. So straight line asymptote means it is tangent at infinity. Okay, so tangent at infinity. So here the root locus branch travels and it reaches the 0 along a straight line asymptote. So this is called asymptote. So here one more asymptote, that is another asymptote. Along this straight line asymptote, it travels to infinity. It travels to open loop 0. Is it clear? So this intersection point is called centroid. Okay, so intersection point with the real axis is called centroid. Generally, that is represented by sigma. Okay, it is a real value because the asymptote has to start from this point. Okay, and one more thing, that is, this is nothing but angle of asymptote. This is also called as angle of asymptotes. Maybe a theta 1 or theta 2. So first we have to calculate this intersection point centroid and angle of asymptotes. Once we know the asymptotes, okay, so parallel to this, we can draw the root locus branch. Okay, same thing, I'll explain. So here, since there are 3 poles, So n is equal to number of poles in this case, that is 3. M is equal to 0. So number of asymptotes, that is equal to n minus m number of asymptotes. So in this case we have to draw 3 asymptotes. Okay, so since there are 3 poles, the number of root locus branches are 3. There is no finite zeros. There is no zero in this case. So there is no finite zero. Hence, all the 3 root locus branch ends at zeros at infinity. So starting point is known, but the ending point is at infinity. We don't know the infinity. Where is this? It may be, this may be in this side or in this side or somewhere else. How this root locus branch starts from this point and reaches this 0? That is nothing but along a straight line asymptote in this direction. In which direction means in this direction, along a straight line asymptote, it reaches to infinity. So for that, our aim is to find out the angle of asymptotes theta, and this is called starting point of the asymptote. Okay, intersection point on real axis, that is called as centroid. We have to calculate these two for all the 3 asymptotes. So angle of asymptotes formula, it is given by plus or minus 180 into 2q plus 1 by n minus 1. This we have to remember. So angle of asymptotes n minus m. So we have already known 3 minus 0, that is 3. Q value initially we have to take 0. So 0, 1 and 2, because n minus m up to n minus m we have to calculate the angle of asymptotes. So these are the angles. When q is equal to 0, it is 60 degrees. When q is equal to 1, it is 180 degrees. Q is equal to 2, it is again 60 degrees. And q is equal to 3, it is again 60 degrees. Okay, plus or minus 60 degrees. This is plus 60. Here it is minus 60. You will get. Even though if we calculate, again the same angles will repeat. So no need to calculate, only n minus m up to we have to calculate. So now the centroid, how to calculate centroid? Centroid means already I have given this formula. Centroid is sum of real parts of poles minus real parts of zeros by n minus 1. Otherwise, we can take the total number of poles minus total number of zeros divided by n minus 1. Both we will get the same values. Even though if we consider the real parts or the total poles and zeros, real poles and zeros or total poles and zeros, you will get the same value. Why? Because the root locus branch is again, it is symmetrical about real axis. Once you have a complex pole, so definitely you will have its mirror image. Okay, so imaginary terms will get cancelled. So only the real parts will remain. So most of the cases. Okay. So otherwise you can directly use this sum of the poles minus sum of the zeros by n minus m. So this is the centroid. That means, so at j is 1 minus 133, the root locus branch starts. Again, we have to make with a 60 degrees angle. So we have to draw the first asymptote. Second asymptote, again from this point, the second asymptote is 180 degrees. Okay, 180 degrees line. The third asymptote is minus 60 degrees. So definitely you will get a mirror image. So minus 60 degrees. So you will get the 3 asymptotes. So first pole, second pole, third pole. So these are the 3 asymptotes and centroid. This was the third step. Any doubts? Up to these 3 steps. Okay. So this is the figure. So asymptote, centroid, this is called centroid. Asymptote angle positive 60 degrees, minus 60 degrees, and 180 degrees. Total 3 asymptotes starting from centroid. The intersection point of asymptotes is called centroid. Okay. So next, to find the break away point and break in point. సో అందరూ నోట్ చేసుకుంటారమ్మా, ప్యారలల్ గా చేస్తే మీకు ఇవాళ వచ్చేస్తుంది డ్రా చేయడం. ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నా క్లియర్ చేసేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే, టు ఫైండ్ ద బ్రేక్ అవే పాయింట్ అండ్ break in point. So what are these break away points and break in points? Okay, so break away point and break in point means when two root locus branches intersect each other. So that means, for example, if we take the root locus, so one root locus branch may move in this direction, the other one may come in this direction, the other one may come in this direction. In some cases, okay, for example, if we take four poles, okay, so one root locus branch comes in this direction, the other root locus branch comes in this direction and intersect at a particular point. That is called breakaway point. Again, this root locus branch moves in this direction, again this moves in this direction. It may have one more intersection point. So these intersection points are called breakaway points. Okay, again in some cases the root locus branch travels and again this root locus branch 0 is somewhere here. Okay, so again this root locus branch comes in this direction and again this touch each other at some other point, that is called break-in point. So here the root locus branch is moving away from this point, that is called breakaway point, intersecting point. One root locus branch is coming in this direction, the other root locus branch is coming in this direction. Here it is moving away from this point, that is called breakaway point. Again these points in some cases they come and meet. Okay, so at that point they meet each other at this junction. So that is the root locus branch again comes and meet at the same point, that is called break-in point. So let us calculate for this breakaway point and break-in point. How to calculate breakaway and break-in points? So here is the formula, the closed loop transfer function. For this we have to calculate the closed loop transfer function. The characteristic equation of the closed loop transfer function, here it is characteristic equation of closed loop transfer function. Previously we have calculated roots for open loop poles and open loop zeros. Okay, there we have taken open loop transfer function. Here the characteristic equation means the closed loop transfer function. Okay, the denominator polynomial of closed loop transfer function, that is s cube plus 4s squared plus 13s plus k is equal to 0. So from this we have to calculate. Once we get k, so next step we have to differentiate with respect to s. dk by ds is equal to 0. This is a systematic procedure to find out, to obtain the root locus. Okay, here to find out breakaway point or break-in point, our aim is to find out the closed loop transfer function. Closed loop transfer function is equal to 0. So s is equal to, so you will get s is equal to -1 plus or minus j 1.6. Once we get the s value, again substitute back in this equation to find out k. Since the k value is a complex and is not real and positive, k value must be always real and positive value. If it is a complex value, or a negative value. Gain cannot be negative value. Gain cannot be a complex value. Okay. So that means there is no breakaway points or break-in points. No need to calculate this one. Most of the cases, in some of the cases, not most. Okay. Many times we will calculate the breakaway points. So if k is a real value, real and positive value, then only there breakaway point exists. Otherwise, there is no breakaway point or break-in points. In this case, there is no breakaway point and break-in point. Since the k value is not real and positive, these points are not the actual breakaway or break-in points. The root locus has neither breakaway nor break-in points. In step 4, we have to calculate the breakaway and break-in points. Okay. So next step, angle of departures and angle of arrivals. In some cases, we have to calculate angle of arrivals, and some cases we have to calculate angle of departures. So when in the given problem, only real poles are present, real poles and real zeros. No need to find out this angle of arrivals and angle of departures. If there is any complex poles and zeros, complex poles and complex zeros are present, in that case we have to find out angle of arrivals and angle of departures. Angle of departure means what and angle of arrivals means what? So angle of departures means the root locus branch always starts at open loop poles. That means when k is equal to infinity, k is equal to 0, the root locus branch starts and finally it ends at open loop zeros. Okay. So it starts at open loop poles and finally ends at open loop zeros. So how it starts? So with an angle. So that is nothing but angle of departure. Finally ends it reaches to 0. How it arrives? So this angle is called as angle of arrival. So this is angle of departure. This is called angle of arrival. So similarly at complex poles and complex zeros, if the root locus branch is something in this fashion, so this is called as angle of arrival at this point at 0. So at pole, you will have angle of departures. Angle of arrivals and angle of departures, so we have to calculate only when there are complex poles and zeros. So in this case, 2 complex poles are available. That's why we have to find out complex. That's why we have to find out angle of departures. No need to find out angle of arrivals because angle of arrival is at infinity. So 0 at infinity. So no need to find out angle of arrivals. Here we have to find out angle of departures. For that, the formula is angle of arrival, angle of departure is equal to, so from a complex pole is equal to 180 minus sum of angle of vectors to the complex pole A from other poles plus sum of angles of vectors to the complex pole A from zeros. Simply we can find out using some protractor. We can find out from easily. Okay, it is very easy. Once we draw the root locus branch, it is easy to obtain the angles. Otherwise, we can calculate the angles theta 1, theta 2, theta 3. So these are the angles we have to calculate, that we can calculate from the diagram itself. Okay. So here angle of arrivals is also the same formula we have to use, but instead of here while calculating Angle of departures, that is at poles, we have to write it as poles. Poles, here 180 minus poles plus complex zeros. So while calculating angle of arrivals, that is 180 minus sum of angles of vectors of complex zeros. Okay, these values we have to substitute here, and these values we have to measure from this point. Okay, so we'll discuss that using diagram. So here it is. First, angle of departures. How to calculate angle of departure at this point? The root locus branch starts at this point. Okay. So and finally reaches at infinity. So this is called as angle of. For example, okay, just for example, if the root locus branch is moving in this direction, finally reaches to 0, which is at infinity. This is called angle of departure. Okay. So how to calculate this angle of departure is 180 minus sum of angles. Sum of angle of vectors to the complex pole from other poles and zeros. We have to measure. So here is one pole. If we assume one more zero, here one more zero, here one more pole, and here it is one more pole. So total 1, 2, 3 poles, 2 zeros. Okay. So draw the lines, draw the vectors from all the other poles and zeros on this pole and measure the angle using protractor. So this is 90 degrees, measure angle. Otherwise, we can also use this formulas. 180 minus tan inverse of B by A. So A by B means tan inverse of A by B means simply A value and B value. Opposite angle by adjacent side. You will get tan theta. So theta value 180 minus theta value, you get theta 1. So simple mathematics. Anni kuda manaku telusu. Otherwise, using protractor, we can measure theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, theta 4, and theta 5. Okay. So ఇప్పుడు angle of arrival ఎలా calculate చేయాలి, angle of departure ఎలా calculate చేస్తారు? 180 minus ఫస్ట్ పోల్స్ దగ్గర ఉన్న యాంగిల్స్ వేసుకోండి. సో పోల్స్ దగ్గర theta 1 ఉంది, నెక్స్ట్ పోల్స్ దగ్గర theta 3 ఉంది, పోల్స్ దగ్గర theta 5 ఉంది. So add these angles minus 180 minus sum of angles made by all poles at this pole. Okay. So theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 1 plus theta 3 plus theta 5. Similarly, sum of angles made by zeros. So angles made by zeros, these two are the zeros. Okay, at this pole. So that is theta 2 plus theta 4. Again, using the same formula, we can find out angle of departure. No need to calculate angle of departure at this point. So because the root locus is always symmetrical about real axis, therefore angle of departure at this pole is 60 degrees. So automatically the other one becomes minus 60 degrees. No need to calculate. Simply we can write out angle of departure at the second pole, complex poles. Okay, complex conjugate poles. One is at 60 means otherwise other one is at minus 60. One is 90 means other one becomes minus 90. No need to calculate again. Okay. Similarly, calculate angle of arrivals. Angle of arrivals means again same thing. So angle of arrival usually find at complex zeros. Okay, just draw this figure. Angle of arrival, simply same procedure we have to find out if we assume this is a 0. Okay. So this is one pole, second pole, third pole, fourth pole, and this is one. Sorry, this is 0. Okay, three poles and three zeros. Okay, so this is 1 0, another 0. This is also 0. So 1 4, 2 4, 3 4. Same procedure we have to follow while calculating angle of arrivals. Angle of arrival means simply the root locus branch terminates at that point. So 180 minus angle made by all zeros. First we have to calculate zeros. Here theta 1, theta 3, only two zeros are there. So theta 1 plus theta 3. So 180 minus, so angle made by all the remaining zeros plus sum of angles made by poles, that is theta 2, theta 3, theta 4 and theta 5. So 3, 1, 2, 3 zeros, 3 poles. Okay. Like that we have to calculate. If you have any doubts, you can ask regarding angle of departures and angle of arrivals. This is very important. Most of the cases, okay, if it is given for 14 marks, definitely you have to calculate. Otherwise, if there is no complex poles present in the transfer function, no need to calculate this part. Only simply step 5, we can eliminate step 5. So for our problem, if we assume angle of arrivals and angle of departures, so for this problem, so two complex poles are there. There is no zeros. Okay. So therefore, angle of departure we have to calculate. Complex 0. So root locus branch starts at this point and finally ends at infinity. So no need to calculate angle of arrival at infinity. So only angle of departure at this point. So angle of departure, how to calculate? That is simply 180 minus angles made by remaining poles and zeros at this point. That means angle made by this pole and angle made by this pole. So here this is 90 degrees. Again, we have to calculate some theta 1 value. This is theta 2. So theta 1 plus theta 2. There is no zeros, therefore everything is 0. Simply you will get minus 33 angle of departure. Very easy to calculate. Okay. Similarly, no need to calculate for this pole. It is simply, if it is minus 33, you will get positive plus 33. So it is a complex conjugate poles and it is symmetrical about real axis. That's why no need to calculate again. Simply you can put plus 33 here. Just note down this one. Okay. So next. To find the crossing point on imaginary axis. Step number 6. Whether the root locus branch is crossing imaginary axis or not. Okay. What is the need of finding this one? Whether the root locus branch is crossing the imaginary axis or not. So this is root locus branch. So one branch is moving in this direction. One branch is moving in this direction. One branch is moving in this direction. If we assume like that, it is crossing imaginary axis at a particular point. Okay. So after this point, otherwise k is equal to 0, k equal to infinity. At k is equal to some value, maybe 20 or 25 or 100, at a particular value, the locus of roots crossing imaginary axis, that means unstable system, crosses this the system becomes unstable. So before that, the system is stable. So for that point, okay, so we have to calculate whether the root locus branch is moving, crossing imaginary axis or not. In some cases, the root locus branch may move in this direction. Okay, in that case, it never crosses imaginary axis. Whatever may be the value from 0 to infinity, the system is always stable. It never becomes unstable. Okay, so we have to know whether the system, whether the root locus branch crossing the imaginary axis or not. How to calculate that one means again. So we can use route stability criteria in this case. Otherwise, the method 2 is simply take the characteristic equation. This is what we have already calculated. This g by 1 plus g of s. So denominator polynomial of closed loop transfer function is nothing but characteristic equation. Just taking the characteristic equation and substitute s is equal to j omega in that. So once we substitute s is equal to j omega, imaginary part equal to 0. If we made imaginary part equal to 0, you will get omega value. If we made real part is equal to 0, you will get k is equal to 4 omega square. So we have calculated omega. If we substitute, k value becomes 50. So at j is equal to, at omega is equal to plus or minus 3.6, it crosses imaginary axis. There is no real part. Okay. The imaginary part is 0. So only imaginary part if you made equal to 0. So you will get 3.1 this. So if we made real part equal to 0, so you will get k value. Okay. So at this position, that means the root locus branch starting at this point crosses imaginary axis at j is equal to, at omega is equal to 3.6 plus 3.6 here, and here it is minus 3.6 minus j 3.6. It crosses imaginary axis. Okay. The crossing point of root locus is plus or minus j 3.6. Okay, just forget about this one. The value of k at the crossing point is 52. Up to 52, from 0 to 52, the system is stable. At k is equal to 52, the system is marginally stable. That means the system becomes oscillatory system. It moves at a frequency of 3.6 radians per second. The response, so up to k equal to 52, the response is damped oscillatory. Oscillations will reduce gradually. At k is equal to 52, it oscillates. It neither becomes 0 nor goes to infinity. After 52, the system becomes, the oscillations will get increased. That means when k is less than 52, the system is stable. When k equal to 52, the system is marginally stable or limitedly stable. When k is greater than 52, the system becomes unstable. Okay, we can speak about the stability of the system just by observing this point. Step 6. Okay, is there any doubts regarding all these 6 steps? Now, finally, we have to draw the picture on a graph sheet. Okay, so here, assume 1 centimeter is equal to 0.5 units. So like that, they assume and denoted all these poles and zeros. First, we have to identify the poles and zeros. Next, represented poles and zeros. Next, calculation of asymptotes. Number of asymptotes is nothing but p minus n minus m. So you will get 3. Angle of asymptotes 60 degrees, minus 60 degrees, 180 degrees. 3 asymptotes. Intersection point of asymptotes is nothing but centroid, or starting point of the asymptotes is nothing but centroids. So it is at minus 1.33. Okay, along this straight line asymptote. See here. So it is moving along this and reaches to 4, reaches to 0, which is at infinity. Okay. So now the angle of arrivals and angle, there is no breakaway points and breaking points for this system. Angle of arrivals is and angle of departure is minus 33. Here it is plus 33. So that means the root locus branch starts at this point in downward direction, and along this straight line asymptote it reaches to infinity. Similarly, here plus 133 along this, and again it moves to infinity along this straight line asymptote. Lagana gauge problem in there. Okay, sir, at exact ante other line. So along this straight line asymptote. So 33 degrees, and it reaches to infinity. So that is our root locus, one root locus branch. The third root locus branch is moves parallel to this real axis, negative real axis, because 0 is at infinity, 0 is at infinity, 0 is at infinity. Starting point is this root locus branch and moves along this straight line. This completes the final root locus. If you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask. Equal to -2 and s is equal to -4. So all the three poles are real poles. For tomorrow's class, try to draw the root locus up to 6 points, 6 steps. Okay. So after that, I will continue. Find the value of k so that the damping ratio of closed loop system is 0.5. This is design. So I want to fix the damping ratio as 0.5. For that, we have to find out k. Okay, that is design part. So from the figure itself, we can directly calculate that value. There is one more step we have to add. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask at any time. Otherwise, for today's session, thank you. Any doubts?